Hello, everybody. My name is Sian Burton. I am your private practice growth and marketing expert. And today I want to talk to you about something that is probably going to freak many of you out, and that is your numbers and profit. We're not going to be going into details about what that should look like from a point of view of margins and expenses and all those details that I know many of you find really hard. That's not to undervalue the importance of having those things. They are really important. But today I want to talk to you about something that I'm really passionate about, that I have implemented in my business many years ago, and that I am really working with my clients to understand more, because it's a really common challenge that I see with the people I speak to. And that is that people are not making a profit in their practice. And not even not making a profit in their practice, many people I speak to are not even drawing a proper wage. So yesterday I spoke to a beautiful psychologist who told me that she's drawing $100,000 wage from her business, and that's less than she pays her graduate psychologists. And she's working long hours. She has a lot of stress. She has a lot of responsibility and risk because she's holding jobs for 5 people, and she's not even drawing a wage that is reflective of her skill and ability as a therapist. And I see this a lot. And if this is you and you're watching and you're like, oh, that's me, I pay some of my team more than I pay myself, and you feel confident or comfortable to pop an emoji in the chat, please feel free to do that. And know that you will not be alone. And if you are brave enough to do that, know that you're just brave, and 70% of the people watching this are in the same situation as you. And I know that because I speak to so many practice owners who want to grow and scale and they want to make money. And this is so often what I hear. So what I want to talk about is the concept of profit first. And some of you will have heard this, and some of you have maybe even read the original book. I just realized I need to say his name and I don't know how to say it. A guy called Mike who wrote Profit First has a name that I don't have in front of me, therefore to say. But a lady, again, now I can't remember her name, has called Julie has written a version for practice owners, for therapists. And that's really helpful because it specifically talks about like some of the differences and uniqueness of being a therapy business as opposed to just being like a coaching business or an electrical business or any one of those other business types. But the concept is the same. So what Profit First is about baking profit into your business from day one or from as soon as you read the book. And many people are like, well, how can I make a profit if I'm not making enough money? And what the book and the concept talks about is how people funnel money back into the business in the view of growth, with their perception is I have to put everything back in to grow the business. But if a business isn't profitable from day one, it doesn't miraculously become profitable in the future at some point when you're big enough. All that happens is the problem grows. And so I work with and know of friends who have very large businesses who, might be $2 million or $3 million or bigger, much bigger sometimes. We see huge businesses fall because they weren't making a profit and they don't have a buffer or a cushion. They're paycheck to paycheck essentially, but in the business world. And it comes from this belief that you just funnel the money back in to grow. But it doesn't allow you to prepare yourself for any financial shocks. So the thing we so commonly hear about celebrities is that they go bankrupt because they get their tax bill. That just wouldn't happen if they were applying profit first to their business, because they are a business, and they wouldn't have that problem if they were putting that money aside ahead of time, knowing that the tax bill is going to come, right? If your tax bill is a surprise to you, or you don't have the funds and you're constantly chasing your tail trying to pay it means you're spending money that is not actually your money. Like, we know that a proportion of what comes into us has to be paid to the IRS or the ATO here in Australia. That's not a surprise, right? We know that there's corporation tax. We know that there is, here it's GST. We know we have to pay those things. That money should never be entering your personal system. It should never be entering your the business's cash flow, because you know that it has somewhere else it has to go and it's not your money. And so same thing for your salary. Like your salary should be one of the first things that comes out to ensure that you are earning a livable salary for the work that you do. It shouldn't be what's left, because that's what I see happen. People pay all their wages, they pay their rent, they pay everything else, and then they take what's left as their wage. There's no profit in the business. They're not earning a proper wage, and yet they're talking about moving into new premises, or they take on these huge leases for huge spaces. And you know that I'm all about being taking inspired steps to grow. But what I'm not about is putting yourself in financial jeopardy to do that, right? Like, it's about taking calculated risks. And what Profit First allows you to do is to have full transparency over your financial situation so that you can take calculated risks. And so what the premise of the concept is that, let's say you have $100 come in, and I'll share my example, though it is different in a practice. The percentages are different in a practice, but I will share my example, and then I will share how it's made a difference for me. So for my business, every $1,000 that comes in, every $1,000 that comes in, $300 go into an account for me to pay myself. 15% of it goes into our tax account, and that leaves us with 55% that is there left over. And I take another 5% as profit. I was like, why is there 5% extra there? It leaves 50%. 50% is what I ensure that my expenses fit into. Now, many of you are going to think, well, how do I fit my expenses in there? And it is slightly tricky to retrospectively try and force your business into these holes, but it makes you have awareness of where you're at and what you're spending. So I implemented this. I started to put my 5% out for profit. I put my tax account amount out. Just that tax thing, knowing that when I get my bill of $15,000 every quarter that I need to pay to the ATO, the money's there. Sometimes there's extra money there. I just send my money off. And it's not at all stressful. It's not a concern. I'm not like, oh my goodness, it's tax time, I can spend this money. It's just there. And then I then ask myself, if I want to do something, well, can I afford to do it? Do I have enough money within the current budget that I have of 50% of whatever my revenue is to do that? And if the answer is no, and it's something I really feel that needs to happen, then how can I increase my revenue so that 50% becomes bigger? Because 50% of 50,000 a month is 25 grand, but 50% of 60 a month is 30,000. And now I have $5,000 extra to play with. So it lets you have awareness of where you're at and what you're spending and how it needs to change. But which then allows you to make decisions on the knowledge that you're going to pay yourself. So is it right to move into that new rental property? Can you afford that with the money that you're making? Is it right to buy that very expensive piece of machinery? Can you afford it with what you have there? Because what you shouldn't be doing is investing in the business at the sacrifice of your personal income. Otherwise, you're just running a charity. You could go and get a job. Like, the stress and the risk that is involved in running a business isn't worth it. It's not even worth it for a salary. Like, it has to be more than that. It has to be a salary and profit on top. And for me, in taking that 5% and putting it into an account that pays for our holiday overseas every year. So my husband's always like, I don't know if we can afford to stay in a hotel. And I'm like, yeah, we can, because I put 5% aside and I've got, $10,000 in that account ready to go for us to go away for a month or to go to Thailand and stay in a really nice hotel. That's where my profit goes. That makes my business feel worthwhile in those difficult times. It makes me feel like I get a benefit from running a business on top of making a good wage and having some flexibility. I have profit. That's what a business is about. And so if yours is not making a profit and you're not even paying yourself a wage, then definitely read the book and start to look at where the issue is. Can you reduce your expenses? If you can't reduce your expenses, increase your revenue, because 90% of you here have a team that are not full. If you fill them up, they will make more money. The issue will be significantly resolved, and then you can just start to put this stuff in place moving forward. The one caution I would have is that you need to be not let it stop you hiring. If your whole team is full and they're absolutely ram-packed and there isn't a free session available for months, but you don't quite have money in the bank to be like, okay, well, I can definitely cover the wages of someone. That is the point. That one time is the point where you're like, you do need to invest to bring on a team member to grow the business. But if you have any spots in your diary, then a new team member is not the next step for you. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you've read Profit First. Let me know if you've read Profit First for Therapists. Let me know what your takeaways were. I really look forward to hearing those and to seeing you on next week's video. Have a great day or a great evening, and I will see you all soon.